For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
At Baker's Pharmacy, care is what's most convenient for you. Care is being here when you need us. We're open evenings and weekends. Care is helping you save more. Most insurance plans and discount cards are accepted at your local Baker's Pharmacy. Care is saving you time by managing your prescriptions online. You can request refills, check order status, and more. Care is convenience that works for everyone. Baker's, a world of care is in store. Services and availability vary by location. Age and other restrictions may apply. For coverage, consult your health insurance company. Visit the pharmacy or our site for details.
With your host, Andrew Donaldson. This is Heard Tell.
Welcome back to Heard Tell. Amanda Griffiths with us. We're going to do something fun with her, though. We usually hit her up for really serious, heavy topics because she's one of these real smart people with letters after her names. But this one's going to be fun because you're well-versed in the classics. I grew up in a household with a Greekophile dad, so I had to learn my classics growing up. This got posed on Twitter, and I think you're the perfect person to ask about this because we were debating it a little bit. I will credit it where credit is due. Moses, Isaiah 545 at the Twitter, asked this question: does America have a national epic? And they listed a few things here. Of course, ancient Greek, you have the Iliad and the Odyssey. Ancient Rome had the Aeneid, and I'm probably saying that wrong. India has something that I'm not even going to take a shot at pronouncing. Germany, of course, had Faust. I would also throw the Ring Cycle in there, but that's just me being in Germany. I think the Ring Cycle has a lot more cultural weight. Spain, they did Don Quixote. England, maybe Tolkien, Beowulf, even though Beowulf was said in Norwegian, it was an English poem. Ireland, Scotland, Ossanian, Scandinavian had Volsunga. There's some, of course, all the Viking stuff for all of the different Norwegian, Nordic countries. Yeah. I love this question for this reason. Does America have a national epic? Now, I have a couple goofy ones I'm going to throw at you first, but just off the top of your head, you're a classicist. You study this stuff. Her Twitter handle is Ajax because, Ajax, that Ajax, not the cleaning Ajax.
Love him. No.
That's a classic, but that's an epic. Ajax is a part of the epic. Does America have an epic?
So this would actually be a wonderful question to ask my sister, who is legitimately a classicist. She's a classics professor now.
But we don't have her. We have you.
We don't, and I'm definitely not her. But what I would say is that technically no, because America was founded after the epic tradition really had its heyday. You had, it really sort of died out mostly in the medieval era, and even that is very, very late. I'm talking about, then that's when you would have things really being written down and transcribed. So America doesn't have a national epic in that technical sense, no. Also because it's a America, despite what some people might argue, doesn't have really doesn't have blood ties to the soil the way that a lot of areas that do have epics will typically have. So it's not as though there's this people that comes from this land that are given and that are given this land to then rule it. As you would see, typically an epic sort of explains how that all goes down. So it's not really the proper country. This is again the stilted academic answer. It's not the proper country to have an epic in that sense.
All right, I agree with everything you just said, but I'm going to pitch you one anyway, and I'm going to bend the definition a little bit because we're American. We just remix what everybody else does anyway and make it better because that's what we do. Let me pitch it to you this way, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Everything you said was true. This was after the epic period. But if you go to the 1800s, especially the mid to late 1800s, that's when a lot of our modern take, and I know I'm stretching modern, but that's when a lot of the modern kind of classical revivalist stuff was written,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Was in the 1800s. All, every 150, 200 years, all of a sudden everybody pays attention to the Greeks and the Romans again. It's like a cycle throughout history. There was a cycle in the 1800s and late 1800s where all these philosophers started digging through the Greek stuff again and the Roman stuff again. So let me pitch you this one because it doesn't fit perfect. But we kind of had a big deal happen in the mid 1800s, right? We had our Civil War. And that is the one point in American history where all those divergent balls hit. Of course, it was inflammatory. We had, hundreds of thousands of deaths. We had just ripped the country apart. But from that point until now, I don't know of anything else that has shaped our nation more, that has had more writing about it, that has more historical significance, that has more cultural significance. I think if you had to pick an epic and it fits that time period where people started talking about epics and classics again, and it happened in real time at that period, I think that might be the closest thing we have in the American national consciousness to an epic is the American Civil War.
I think in terms of the national consciousness, you're correct. As you're talking about that era, by the way, and then this is not directly that era per se, but I was thinking you certainly do have these folk tales, right? That I think might fit the mold in some regard as an epic. Daniel Boone, Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn. If you wanted to say what are the American epics, these I might call American epics. See, as you're talking, I'm having more of an opportunity to think this through, because not only are they, are they works, that encapsulate the spirit of a particular era. They sort of encapsulate the spirit of a country, right? So again, Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn. All right, this is classic when you think all America and you think pull yourself up by your bootstraps, that kind of thing, spirit of adventure, rugged individualism, all of that. You get that with these characters. Now, when you talk about the Civil War, it's interesting because that is, you're right, that's an oral tradition. Yes, people have written things down about the Civil War. You have Civil War diaries. I think what would need to happen to consider the Civil War an epic in and of itself would be a little bit more codification of a narrative, because when you go through, there's a lot of dispute about what happened during the Civil War. And I'm not even talking about, what caused it, what were the factors. There's just so much at play. So when you say the Iliad, the Odyssey, these are epics. Well, the Iliad, that's taken from the Trojan War, but you don't say that the Trojan War itself is an epic. So I would say that the Civil War provides fodder for epics. And I'm not disagreeing with you per se. I'm just saying to refine the answer a little bit. Various accounts of the Civil War perhaps might be epochal, might be more in that vein. But so I'll see your answer, and then I'll also kind of modify mine a little bit and say something like Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn would be good American epics. I haven't seen this question. I imagine someone might have answered that. But
they did, and
okay.
I take your point that if you want to make it fit, making that like the Trojan War, which is what most of the Iliad and Odyssey was revolved around, was either going to and coming back from the Trojan War. I think that works too. The criticism, of course, is going to be that the problem with a Huck Finn and things like that as a national narrative is it leaves out a lot of our national narrative. It leaves out the mess that the Civil War is. It leaves out the massive influx of immigration after the westward expansion that changed our country.
Right.
It's let's be fair, the criticism is true. That's kind of a sanitized, whitewashing version of American history, which of course epics are like that because they're told to be good stories.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of went to the Civil War first, because that's the only one where everybody knows at least a little piece of it, but it's still messy enough that you can get real history without all the mythification. Not that there's not a lot of mythification around the Civil War, but I take your point. I think it works better as the Trojan War comparison than an overall epic, but that was just the first one I thought of. Let me give you a couple that are a little sillier, but I think they're a little fun. Okay. These of course don't fit, but as a genre style, somebody brought this up. I thought this was actually interesting because this is kind of an ethos thing. Westerns. which are kind of uniquely American, at least in cinema,
Mhm.
especially. They have some epic traits when you start thinking about things like how the Western, it's kind of uniquely American. It's that spirit of adventure kind of stuff. I, it's not a perfect square peg in that round hole, but I could see that.
Yeah, no, I think westerns, and they're a lot of them are structured kind of as epics. They're supposed to be. A lot of the old westerns, I think, are probably, there are a couple, aren't they, that are supposed to be modeled after the Odyssey or what have you. Epics also, to a point, if you look at the traditional epic style, typically lends legitimacy to some type of rulership or to a people's right to rule. So if we think about, does a Western, or do any of these things we've mentioned back and forth, do those lend legitimacy, maybe not to institutions of government, but to a particular way of being that we consider all American? I think Westerns certainly do that. Yeah, absolutely. Westerns are great. Westerns themselves, like I was just saying, are sort of modeled after a lot of epics. So I can dig that.
Two others real quick that made this
Okay.
list. Both of these I like them individually. I don't know if they raise to the level of epic. This one, this is one of my favorite books that definitely need an editor, because you could have cut out over a third of this book and made it a lot tighter because it gets into nomenclature. But as far as one-liners go, as far as epics go, as far as forming American literature going forward, Moby Dick. It's not arguable that's if you had to go with a piece of literature, that one's going to be hard to beat in the American canon.
Although I would say maybe Tom Sawyer is probably more of an epic than Moby. Well, not more of an American epic than Moby Dick. But yes, I think that's
written in the British. For the uninitiated, it's an American story, but it was very much a British seafaring narrative.
Yeah.
So yeah, I take your point.
Yeah, no, I think that Moby Dick is certainly, again, that's kind of meant to be an epic. It has an epical bent to it, right? It's got a kind of hero's journey type of return, coming and going. Yeah, that would certainly fit.
That's the sound of your current hype level at the gas pump. But brace yourself for something fuel-nominal, because Unleaded 88 is about to take the hype to a whole new level. Unleaded 88 is cheaper, cleaner, and greener than regular unleaded. Plus, it's homegrown, making Unleaded 88 the clear choice at the pump and totally worth the hype. So pump it up with Unleaded 88, brought to you by Iowa Corn.
For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
All right, this one's a little more obscure, although people will know the one part of it when I say it, but probably a lot of folks don't realize it's actually part of a larger series. I'm going to preface this by being honest. I've actually read the original book. It's unreadable. It is utterly you cannot read it without a modern translation of this, even though it's written in America in English, because it's unreadable. The Last of the Mohicans, it's part of the Leatherstocking Tales. But if you're going to go to foundational myth making for a people and a culture and a country, that's probably about as close as it gets as foundational myth making as the Leatherstocking Tales. And of course, the most famous part of that is the Last of the Mohicans narrative.
Yeah, that was, I think
that one's a pretty good one.
That's a very good one. That's a very good one. Again, all of these fit, right? They all fit in different ways that I think are really cool. And again, like American syncretism. So no, there isn't one grounded, solid American epic, but there are a whole bunch that if you compile them together, as we've been doing, you get these core themes that come up again and again. And I think do not only shine a light on certain aspects of the American spirit, you'd call it, but also legitimate it and say, this is a really cool thing, and applaud it and praise it, and also critique it in interesting ways. Shine a light on maybe some of the more difficult or challenging aspects of the American spirit and the American story as well. So I think these all work when you put them together. Just like, again, this unique blend of ness that becomes American ness. That is so wonderful.
Yeah, and on that one, I think this one, at first I was kind of like, and then the more I thought about it, the more I thought this actually really, really fits, because it goes into the one I started with, which was the Civil War. This was a precursor to the Civil War. So if that's going to be your Troy narrative, if you're going to have an Agamemnon, you're going to have something that predates that. Uncle Tom's Cabin, Harriet Beecher Stowe. It was actually called Life Among the Lowly, was what it was actually called originally. 2 volumes. This really cranked up the social consciousness on a lot of levels. The more I thought about it, the more I looked at it. Yeah, that one fits.
That absolutely fits. I think that's a great one to add to the American canon for a number of reasons. And I mean, to the American epic canon in particular that we've been making up just now, that absolutely is a powerful one. And I'd include that for sure.
All right, now my silly one. But before I get to that, do you have one off the top of your head that you can think of that you would think either silly or serious, epic for America, before I give you my goofy one?
Again, I'm gonna say Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn, and I don't know if there's a silly one that I have. No, I want to hear yours. Let's go for it.
All right. Odysseus was a piker compared to any American trying to find a McDonald's ice cream machine that works during peak hours.
Odysseus is a piker no matter what, man. But that's perfect. That's perfect. That's like someone
that is our Iliad, is trying to find during peak hours an ice cream machine that is not in its maintenance cycle.
I thought they were always all like in their maintenance cycles. I heard there's a reason for that, and it has to do with
shut them all down
like
for
regulatory failure.
It's a conspiracy, man.
No, I heard I heard that there's some weird reason that McDonald's ice cream machines are always in their maintenance phase, and it has to do with the fact that, and it's sort of like, it's actually not the government directly, it has to do with it, but it's a lesson about how centralization always fails. Someone should look this up because and read about it and think about how this is a metaphor, because I can't remember off the top of my head. But yes, that would be an epic, and someone should write it, and someone should write the movie for it as well. And if anyone wants to write a part for me, that'd be great.
That might be one of my if I go down for surgery for a while, that might be one of my hospital things. I might have to write up the epic of the ice cream machine. So we may have to do that. All right, Amanda Griffiths, this is a little more fun topic, but epics are important. National ethos is important. I thought this was a fun topic. I knew you'd be the perfect person to ask about it because you are well versed in the classics. So I will end with this, since he is your favorite. Who would the American Ajax be?
Ooh, I can't say me.
No, it can't be you.
No, I was joking anyway. No, who is the American Ajax? Here's the thing. I think part of why I like Ajax so much is because Ajax has so many American qualities that I would identify as being very much American and individualistic. There is pride, certainly. There is this sense of self-determinedness and sense of individualism. Salvation's light is in the work of our hands. There's, the sense of your spirit leaps at a challenge. Your spirit leaps at the opportunity to prove yourself. Who's the American Ajax? I I almost said someone like Elon Musk. He's not even American. I think, and Elon Musk's more of an Odysseus type of Phil anyway.
Got you on.
Yeah.
I'll take a stab at it.
Okay.
If he gets killed at San Juan Hill, Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah, I was actually that Teddy Roosevelt occurred to me.
But he's got to die at San Juan Hill, at the gates of Troy. He can't do the rest of it because then it doesn't fit anymore.
Yeah.
But if you have him just where he self-made himself, a vigorous life, all that, the bully stuff, that would work. Because he fits all that. Not physically, obviously. He wasn't the imposing figure with the Warhammer, but mentally, rhetorically, attitude-wise, he jumps off the page at me. There'd probably be some other ones more physical, but that's the first one I thought of.
You're not going to believe me, but he was also the first one that I thought of. I tried to go for someone more contemporary, but yes, I think he's a great one. He's a great one to sort of say that's the American Ajax.
Yeah. This has been fun. I'm glad we did this. Thanks for making the time for me. We'll do more. We're going to have to do more classical stuff.
Yeah.
But
thanks for bringing on me.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Amanda Griffith, let folks know where they can find you until we get you back on Heard Tell again, which will be often and frequently because we love having you.
Yes, and I love being here. People can find me on Twitter at Ajax the Griff. That's how Andrew knew. AJAXTHEGRIFF. And you can also follow me at my contributor page at Young Voices. That's young-voices.com. You scroll down, or click on contributors. You'll see me, all the work that I've done with Young Voices published through them, as well as media hits. Always love to engage with folks. So on Twitter and also young-voices.com, my contributor page is there.
We'll have to get you some kind of Warhammer animation. Like when our budget gets high enough, that'll be fun.
Please do.
I don't know what your personal gates of Troy will be, but please avoid them because we want you to hang around for a while longer.
Yeah. Life is just my gates of Troy. I don't know.
Stay away from Hector. All right. Amanda Griffiths, always a pleasure, man. Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
Yes, ma'am.
Now let me see you go off like a bomb.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at a concert hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works behind the scenes, ensuring every light is working, the HVAC is humming, and his facility shines. With Grainger's supplies and solutions for every challenge he faces, plus 24/7 customer support, his venue never misses a beat. Call quickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.